Schoolteacher Juliet Tomlin is accused of indecent assault on a 15-year-old schoolboy who claimed that they were lovers. Yesterday, the boy changed his testimony twice, and the defense has called an expert witness, Dr. Eva Penny, a qualified psychotherapist.
Dr. Penny, the position is that Robin may be telling us not what happened, but some fantasy?
In my opinion, yes.
Thank you, Dr. Penny.
In your opinion?
I've made that plain, yes.
And however expert and eminent in your field you may be, Doctor, you would be the first to admit, would you not, that psychiatry and psychology are often wildly inexact?
Inexact was my word. Wildly is yours. I don't accept it.
Yes, wildly is my word, Doctor. There are many differing schools of thought in psychiatry and psychology, are there not? Many very different theories?
Some, and not very different. I don't subscribe dogmatically to any of them.
One thing about which we did not hear your opinion is whether or not you think Robin is a liar.
Surely I answered that. No, he's not.
He's truthful, then.
Let me finish. He is not a liar. But as with most of us, when unconsciously he becomes confused or troubled, he will see the truth as something which it isn't.
Unconsciously?
Yes.
There are certain experts in your field, are there not, who go so far as to deny the very existence of the unconscious?
I haven't heard it sensibly proposed for a good many years now.
Have you not? Well, perhaps you could explain to the jury what the unconscious is, what it's for.
Oh, come now, this is hardly the place for that. You've heard my evidence. I've told you it's only my opinion. But that is what it is. Expert opinion in a field I don't propose to stand here and explain. Psychiatry exists. This isn't the Middle Ages.
Ah, well, we have reached one point of agreement there, Doctor. Now, as I understand it, it is your opinion that Robin may be subject to fantasies and that his affair with Miss Tomlin is just that, sheer fantasy.
That is broadly what I've been saying.
Do you have any evidence that he had had any other fantasies?
No.
So you were saying his only fantasy is that he has made love to Miss Tomlin?
That is not what I'm saying. What I said was that in the state he was in, he may very well invent things and come to believe them.
He may invent things. But then, on the other hand, he may not. I see. Thank you, Dr. Penny.
Thank you, Dr. Penny.
Thank you, Dr. Penny.
You may stand down.
Thank you, my lord.
I call Miss Juliet Tomlin.
What is your religion?
I have no orthodox
You wish to
religion.
affirm?
Yes.
Please read aloud the words on this card.
I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
You are Juliet Tomlin, and you live at 30 Northfield Road, Fulchester.
Yes.
Miss Tomlin, what was the nature of your relationship with Robin A?
I am very fond of him. I like him very much.
Did you
As the
love
doctor
him?
said, he's an exceptional person.
Did you love him?
Yes. Yes, I think I do. But we all mean something very different by that, don't we? I love him as a very good, dear friend.
But only as a friend.
I don't know. I don't know what the words are for it.
Was he your lover?
No. No, he really wasn't.
He was never your lover in any physical sense.
I wanted to help him. He needed love and care and a lot of things I could give him. But he was so hungry for affection that it wouldn't have been fair to him. It would only have hurt him when there could be no future in it.
Because of the difference in your ages?
Oh, that and the fact that it never was a love affair. You see, I didn't know how he felt. It only came out that night after his father came round.
Would you tell the jury what happened on the night of the 6th of July?
Well, Robin turned up on my doorstep about 11 o'clock. He said he'd had another terrible row with his father and had walked out and wouldn't go home. He was exhausted. He'd been walking for several hours.
He wanted you to help him.
Well, he had nowhere else to go, and it was terribly late. He said, could I put him up? I'd no sooner got him off to bed when his father arrived, demanding to see Robin and ranting and raving about what I was supposed to have done to him.
He thought you'd been intimate with his
Well,
son.
I kept saying, it's not like that, it's not like that. But he had some of my letters and kept waving them in my face and shouting. I told him Robin was in bed and that the best we could do was to leave him. It was after midnight.
You say you'd got him off to bed. Now, which bed was that?
In the spare room.
And eventually Mr. A left, did he?
There was nothing else I could say. I thought at one point he'd hit me, but in the end he just left.
And did he make... I'm sorry.
Well, I just wanted to say that there's been a lot of bad feeling. And Mr. A has been made out to be some kind of Barretts of Wimpole Street monster. He's not like that. He loves Robin, and he wants the best for him. We've all made our mistakes with Robin, but Mr. A has made less than most.
Less than you?
Yes. Yes, certainly that. But there does come a time, and Robin is 15. He's old enough to be responsible for himself. He's got to make his peace with his father. I tried. I did try, but it didn't work, so...
Are you saying your friendship is now over?
No, not our friendship. It's not over. He must know that. It's just that I can't see him anymore. I shan't until he's much older. He knows that. He's known that for some time. But he won't accept it. And that's why he's done all this.
Miss Tomlin, could you reiterate that part of
One moment, Miss Lewis. Are you suggesting that Robin A. has made these allegations against you as a form of emotional blackmail to force you to go on seeing him?
I'm sorry. I don't think it's good for Robin to hear all this. He'll think I'm betraying him, and I'm not. Please, couldn't he leave the court?
My lord, in view of the situation, would you consider excluding Robin A. from the court?
Well, if what Miss Tomlin says is true and her evidence may distress the boy, I can only believe it would be still more disturbing for him to leave the court and have to imagine what she is saying. No, he may stay unless he or his father choose that he should leave. Miss Lewis.
Let us deal straight away with the allegations made against you. Did you sleep or make love with Robin on the 6th or 7th of July?
No, absolutely not.
Miss Tomlin, you said that the reason behind Robin's actions in this was because you had told him that your friendship was over.
No, not our friendship. It's not over. It's just that I can't see him anymore. You see, I didn't know how he felt. It only came out that night after his father came round that Robin came downstairs and said that he was in love with me. I didn't know. It was stupid and slow of me, but I simply hadn't guessed.
But you had used the word love freely in conversation and letters.
Yes, he knows I love him. But there's a huge difference between love and being in love. We've talked about love by the hour. What love is, all the different kinds. Love of one's family, parents, country. Love of things, love of the world. Our love, even romantic love. I thought he knew the differences. And then suddenly he said he was in love with me.
What did you answer?
Oh, I don't know. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. I said something like, Robin, I didn't know. You can't be in love with me. And he said, I am. And I said, well, go to bed. We'll talk about it in the morning.
And did you talk about it in the morning?
No, he didn't bring the subject up again, and I decided I wouldn't say anything. I thought that if he mentioned it, I'd just say I understood. But then the next night, Miss Kitely came.
Was Miss Kitely's arrival something of a shock to you?
Well, I didn't take much notice of her at first. It wasn't until she'd gone that I suddenly realized.
You realized what?
Well, I dismissed what she'd been saying, that people were talking, that it was becoming a scandal, because it simply wasn't true. And then suddenly I thought, well, it must be true. Robin said it's true. He said he's in love with me. So I thought, I must sit down there and then with Robin and try and talk it out.
And this was the first time you had made it plain to Robin that you were not in love with him?
Well, I suppose so, but I don't think I ever gave him the impression that I was.
And how did he take the news?
He cried.
At first, he cried.
Yes, and then he said it didn't matter, that he'd always loved me. So I said I was sorry. It was all my fault, but we simply couldn't see each other anymore. So then he got very angry and started talking nonsense.
What sort of nonsense?
Oh, incoherent things. Things like he'd lock me up, he'd chain me up in a room so that I couldn't get away, he'd kill me and kill himself. He didn't mean it.
And all this took place before Robin was interviewed by the police?
The night before, yes.
And do you think that's why he said what he did to the police?
Well, it must be, yes.
Why did you not deny it?
I'm sorry, it was stupid of me. I did think Robin would be able to say it was all a lie. I didn't want to hurt him or make him seem bad. These are private things, and even if his name isn't on them, he'll know. And he'll have to read about it in the newspapers. God, I'm terribly sorry.
Miss Tomlin. Miss Tomlin, I should now take you through these letters word by word, and undoubtedly the prosecuting counsel will do just that. But I believe you have explained them, what you meant by them. I believe you have explained this whole affair, and I have no further questions.
But I'm afraid I have, Miss Tomlin. I have indeed. Miss Tomlin, you saw Robin almost every day at the school.
Yes.
You saw him many evenings, too.
Yes.
Spending hours with him while you read books, poetry, talked to him.
Yes.
You saw so much of him that it became common talk amongst the people who knew you, some of whom even warned you.
Yes.
Then how can it possibly be that you failed to recognize his love for you?
I don't know.
You even talked about love by the hour, didn't you?
Yes.
And yet you didn't recognize it right under your nose.
No.
How can we possibly believe you?
I said love, not in love. How could I tell that he felt differently?
How indeed, Miss Tomlin? How can we? What difference is there?
You love your children. I hope you're in love with your wife.
You're not married, are you, Miss Tomlin?
No.
If it's not too much of an impertinent question, how old are you?
32.
Another impertinent question, Miss Tomlin. Are you quite without any sort of experience sexually?
My lord, is that question justified?
The question is not only justified. In the context, I'd say it's essential it be asked.
I don't mind anyway. No, I'm not an old spinster.
But you are a spinster.
I'm not a virgin.
You kissed Robin?
Yes. But never in a sexual fashion.
You held his hands?
Yes.
Fondled, cuddled him?
Yes.
And you ask us to believe you felt nothing sexual for this boy? This boy whom you described as hungry for affection and whom you've admitted you love?
The truth is, yes, I find him attractive.
Attractive?
Attractive.
Sexually attractive?
Yes, but I never slept with him.
Really? You see, I find this hard to believe. You say you felt sexually attracted to Robin, and yet it never occurred to you that he must be sexually attracted to you?
Yes, it did occur to me. More than that, I knew. It's part of any love. Sexuality. Well, sexual attraction is just that. It can stop there. I find myself attracted to lots of people, but I don't make love with them, and I didn't make love with Robin.
So, Miss Tomlin, now you were saying not only did you find the boy sexually attracted, but that you knew the boy was sexually attracted to you. Right, now let's look at these letters. No, better than that. I'll read one to you. Just one. Robin, dear Robin, I know it's wrong of me to write to you again. I'm sitting ready for bed, and all I can think of is you. Being young is a wonderful gift, and all we oldies, yes I am, envy it. But your passion and stamina, enthusiasm and energy must not be wasted. I look at my hand as I write, and I think of your smooth flesh. Now, Robin, now is all we have. Everything we can possibly be and do is only in the now. That means not fighting, but spending as much of every now as we can on love. I hope I've shown you something of what love is. I've tried. And God knows it is as good for me as you say it is for you. Gently now, I kiss you good night. Now, Miss Tomlin, hearing this letter again, how can we possibly believe anything except that you and Robin have made love?
You must believe it because it's true. If you read it the way you did, it sounds more than a love letter. It sounds awful, obscene. You put every dirty insinuation into it. I can only say I wrote it as a private letter, not to be read out here. When you know someone, you develop a private language. You knew what I meant, and I didn't mean what you've said. When I wrote, I tried to show you what love is, and it's good meant just that. Love, not love-making. Please, please believe me.
Members of the jury, it is clear that in this affair with Miss Tomlin and the 15-year-old boy, the boy acted willingly, voluntarily, and fully aware of the nature and consequences of what he was doing. But this in no way excuses Miss Tomlin's conduct, for in law, any sexual activity with persons under 16 is prohibited, and the consent of that young person is immaterial. Now, can there be any doubt, ladies and gentlemen, that such sexual activity took place? Can we fail to believe Robin when he says he had sexual intercourse with Miss Tomlin? Now, we've heard the evidence of Miss Kitely, who saw them together in a classroom, kissing. We've heard from a psychiatrist that Robin felt a powerful need for a woman who could combine both mother and lover. And then there are the letters. I want you here and now. I think of your smooth flesh, your passion. It is as good for me as you say it is for you. If I've made you a man, then I'm glad, and so on. But most damning of all is what we have heard from the accused's own mouth, that she felt sexually attracted to Robin, and that she knew he was sexually attracted to her. And knowing this, ladies and gentlemen, she permitted him to stay in her house alone together for 2 nights. Now, can we fail to believe Robin when he tells us they slept together, that there was sexual activity? For this is the only question you have to ask yourselves, members of the jury. Was there any sexual activity between the accused and Robin A? Now, if your answer is yes, whatever sympathy you may feel towards the accused must not allow you to be swayed from your clear duty in law, which is to find Juliet Tomlin guilty as charged.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, nobody, least of all herself, would deny that Juliet Tomlin has behaved unwisely in this matter. And she blames herself for this more than anyone. Because he was a remarkable and receptive pupil, she put herself in circumstances where this boy could fall in love with her. And she was blind to the fact that he had until it was too late. Miss Tomlin may have behaved unwisely, short-sightedly, but that is all she has done. Now, you don't need a psychiatrist to tell you that 15-year-old boys have dreams of a sexual nature, that they fantasize. You do have the expert witness, the expert psychotherapist, who has told you that this boy, because of his emotional deprivation, was a breeding ground for such fantasies. Now, I submit to you that it would be dangerously wrong to proceed on his evidence. Indeed, his bravura insistence on Miss Tomlin's guilt seems wholly inconsistent with his claim to love her, and much more like an act of childish revenge. So what actual evidence have we? Well, a bit of gossip, possibly provoked by jealousy. one or two wholly innocent acts of friendship, easily misconstrued, and the letters. Well, out of a dozen or more letters which the father took from his son's room, only two, in the words of the Chief Inspector, even seemed more than affectionate. They are loving, because Miss Tomlin has not tried to hide from you her real and deep affection for the boy. They are passionate, but they are passionate in a literary way. Miss Tomlin is a teacher of literature. Her letters reflect her love of language, a love which she tried to communicate to her young pupil. She was being, in the true sense of the word, an educator. When she talks of love, she means just that, love, not love-making. Love is a much devalued word, ladies and gentlemen. It would be a sad today if it came to mean only sexual intercourse. So, all that is proven in this case is that Miss Tomlin has behaved ill-advisedly, perhaps overzealously. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is not a crime. And I ask you to return a verdict of not guilty.
Members of the jury, Miss Tomlin is charged on 2 counts. Firstly, that she indecently assaulted Robin A. on July the 6th, 1973. Secondly, that she committed a similar offence on the following day. Now, it is no defence in law to say that, as here, a person under the age of 16 gave his or her consent. The law says Master A cannot give his consent at this age. He is a minor. Thus, intercourse or other sexual activity with a minor is an indecent assault. This is my task, members of the jury, to advise you upon the law. It is your task now to weigh the evidence and to decide only upon the facts. I would ask you to bear in mind 2 things. Firstly, you should be cautious of acting on the evidence of Robin A. alone. He is, after all, very young. You should look for corroborative evidence. The letters and the other evidence, if you think there is any weight to it, could provide corroboration. Secondly, the prosecution must prove its case beyond all reasonable doubt. So, if you have a reasonable doubt whether Miss Tomlin did these things alleged against her, you must find her not guilty. You will now retire and consider your verdict.
All stand. Members of the jury, will you please be seated, but will your foreman remain standing? Just answer this question, yes or no. Have you reached a verdict upon which you are all agreed?
Yes.
On the first count of indecent assault, do you find the accused Juliet Tomlin guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
On the second count of indecent assault, do you find the accused guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Very well. Miss Tomlin, you have been found not guilty upon the verdict of the jury. You're free to leave this court.
The court will rise.
Next week, a chance to join another jury in assessing the facts when our cameras return to the Crown Court.